In the cold lands of the north, they knew one truth above all others. Even gods must die. This is their prophecy. This is their apocalypse. This is Ragnarok. Chapter 1. A world born to perish. In the void before time, there was only Ginnungagap, the yawning abyss. From its depths emerged fire and ice, Muspelheim and Niflheim, primordial forces locked in eternal opposition. Where they met, creation sparked. From this cosmic collision arose the 9 realms: Midgard, home to humanity; Asgard, golden citadel of the gods; Jotunheim, frozen domain of the giants; and 6 other realms bound together by the world tree Yggdrasil. Yet even as the first morning dawned across these newly born worlds, darkness was already written into their fate. The Norns, Urd, Verdandi, and Skuld, who weave the threads of destiny, whispered a terrible secret into the cosmos. Creation carries within it the seeds of its own destruction. This inevitable doom had a name, spoken in hushed tones around hearth fires and mead halls: Ragnarok. The fate of the gods, the twilight of the powers, the end of all things. Chapter 2. Harbingers of Apocalypse. The coming of Ragnarok would not arrive without warning. The signs would manifest gradually, like poison seeping through the roots of Yggdrasil itself. First would come Fimbulwinter, not one winter, but 3 in succession, without summer's reprieve. 3 years of biting cold, blinding blizzards, and savage winds. The sun's warmth would fade to memory as frost claimed the world. In this merciless cold, humanity would turn against itself. Blood bonds would shatter. Brother would raise blade against brother. Fathers would slaughter sons. Mothers would abandon children. The sacred ties of kinship and honor, bedrock of Norse society, would crumble into dust as survival consumed all other virtues. Meanwhile, in the heavens above, an ancient chase would reach its conclusion. Since the dawn of creation, the wolves Skjöll and Hati, massive beasts born of the giantess Angrboda, have pursued the sun and moon across the sky. During Ragnarok, their relentless hunt would finally succeed. With terrible jaws, they would devour Sul and Mani, plunging the 9 realms into impenetrable darkness. And the stars shall fall from the sky, like withered leaves from the world tree, and all will know that the final hour is at hand. Chapter 3. The Unleashing of Chaos. As darkness claims the heavens, the very foundations of the earth would shudder and crack. Mountains would split asunder. Ancient trees would tear free from the soil. The boundaries between realms would weaken and dissolve. And then, the unthinkable. Far beneath the earth, bound in torment for his treachery against the gods, lies Loki the trickster. After orchestrating the death of beloved Baldur, the Aesir took their vengeance. They bound Loki with the entrails of his own son, and suspended a serpent above him, eternally dripping venom onto his face. Only his faithful wife Sigyn offers relief, catching the poison in a bowl, but when she must empty it, Loki's agonized writhing causes earthquakes. In the chaos of the coming apocalypse, these bonds would finally break. Centuries of suffering and hatred would fuel Loki's vengeance as he sails Naglfar, a ship constructed from the untrimmed fingernails and toenails of the dead, bringing the frost giants to war against Asgard. Not only Loki would break free, his monstrous children, whom the gods had wisely imprisoned, would also escape their confinement. Fenrir, the colossal wolf who had bitten off the hand of Tyr, would snap the magical fetter Gleipnir. His massive jaws would stretch so wide that his lower jaw would scrape the ground while his upper jaw touched the heavens. The stars themselves would disappear into his ravenous maw. Jörmungandr, the World Serpent, so vast it encircles all of Midgard with its tail in its mouth, would rise from the ocean depths. As it writhes toward shore, its movements would cause tsunamis to engulf coastal lands, while its toxic breath poisons the very air. And from the realm of Hel would come an army of the dishonorable dead, led by Loki's daughter Hel herself, pale as death on one side, putrid and decaying on the other, commanding legions of those who died of old age or illness, rather than in glorious battle. The children of Loki, monsters born of chaos, finally unleashed upon the 9 realms. What the gods had feared most would now come to pass. Chapter 4. The Last Stand of the Divine. On the vast plains of Yggdrasil, a battlefield stretching 100 leagues in every direction, the final confrontation would unfold. From one side would come the forces of chaos, frost giants from Jotunheim, fire giants from Muspelheim, the monstrous children of Loki, and the dishonored dead. From Asgard would ride the Aesir and Vanir, the divine pantheon, armed for their final battle. Beside them would march the Einherjar, the honored dead chosen by Odin's Valkyries over countless generations, warriors who have feasted and trained in Valhalla precisely for this day. Their numbers would be vast, yet still outmatched by the hordes of chaos. The clash would shake the foundations of reality as gods and monsters, heroes and giants meet in combat. Mighty Odin Allfather, with his gleaming spear Gungnir and his 8-legged steed Sleipnir, would charge directly toward Fenrir. The one-eyed god of wisdom, who had sacrificed so much for knowledge and had foreseen this very moment, would fight with unmatched ferocity. Yet prophecy cannot be denied. The wolf's jaws would close around the Allfather, swallowing him whole, the king of Asgard devoured by chaos incarnate. But vengeance would follow swift and terrible. Vidar, Odin's silent son, would stride forward. With one foot shod in a boot made from all the leather scraps that mortals have discarded throughout history, he would step upon Fenrir's lower jaw. With his bare hands, he would grasp the upper jaw and tear the wolf asunder, avenging his father in a display of primal fury. Thor, mightiest of the Aesir, with Mjolnir crackling with lightning, would confront his ancient nemesis, Jörmungandr, the World Serpent. Their mutual hatred, born ages ago when Thor failed to lift the serpent during a contest of strength, would culminate in this final duel. The Thunder God would strike with such power that the serpent's skull would shatter, but not before its venom coated Thor completely. The God of Thunder would stagger back victoriously, manage just 9 steps, and then collapse, poisoned by the creature he had slain. Freyr, once god of fertility and abundance, would face Surtur, the fire giant with his flaming sword. Having given away his magical sword long ago to win the hand of the giantess Gerd, Freyr would fight valiantly, but fall before Surtur's burning blade. And in the swirling chaos of battle, ancient enemies Heimdallr and Loki would find each other. Heimdallr, ever vigilant guardian of Bifrost, with his Gjallarhorn, and Loki, the shape-shifting deceiver. Their mutual loathing would end as they deal death to one another simultaneously. The god Tyr and the hellhound Garma would slay each other. Countless warriors, gods, and monsters would fall as the battle consumed all. It was not just the end of lives, but the end of legends. The twilight had come for gods who once thought themselves eternal. Chapter 5. World in Flames. With the gods fallen and the forces of order defeated, Surtur would fulfill his cosmic purpose. The fire giant, ancient as creation itself, would raise his flaming sword toward the heavens and then bring it down upon the world. Fire would cascade across the 9 realms like a relentless tide. The sacred ash tree Yggdrasil would blaze, its mighty branches cracking and falling through the dimensions. Mountains would melt like wax. Oceans would boil and then rise, flooding what flames had not yet claimed. The stars would be extinguished one by one. Midgard, realm of humanity, would vanish beneath fire and water. Asgard's golden halls would crumble to ash. Jotunheim's icy mountains would dissolve into steam. Nothing would remain but smoke and silence. The 9 realms, forged in the meeting of fire and ice, would return to nothingness. The wheel of existence, having completed its revolution, would come to rest. Ragnarok, the destiny written into creation from its first moment, would be fulfilled. In Norse wisdom, even gods cannot outrun fate. The Norns' tapestry, woven since time's dawn, reaches its final thread. Existence itself exhales one last time. Chapter 6. Rebirth from Ashes. But the wisdom of the North never ends with destruction alone. From the smouldering embers of the old world, new life would stir. As smoke clears and waters recede, a new earth would emerge. Vibrantly green, astonishingly fertile, washed clean of the old world's sins. The sun's daughter, more radiant than her mother ever was, would ride across clear skies. Where once stood Asgard, the surviving gods would gather. Baldur and Hoda would return from death's realm, their ancient tragedy healed. Vidar and Vali, sons of Odin, would carry their father's legacy. Magni and Modi, sons of Thor, would wield Mjolnir with their father's strength but greater wisdom. In the world tree Yggdrasil, not all had burned. In a place called Hodmimis Holt, concealed within the trunk itself, two humans had found shelter. Lif and Lifthrasir, life and eager for life. From this couple, humanity would begin anew, spreading across the fresh green world with a second chance to honor the gods and live with virtue. The new pantheon would discover golden game pieces in the grass, the same pieces their predecessors once played with in the peaceful days before Ragnarok, a symbol that while individuals may perish, the cosmic game continues. And so Ragnarok reveals its deepest truth. It was never merely an ending, but a transformation, the death of one cycle and the birth of another. The Norse vision of apocalypse carries within it the seed of hope, that after even the darkest night, dawn will come again. Epilogue. The wisdom of endings. The Norse embraced a truth many cultures fear to face, that nothing lasts forever, not wealth, not power, not even the gods themselves. All things move in cycles of creation and destruction, life and death, order and chaos. But in this stark reality, they found not despair but profound courage. If even the mighty Thor and wise Odin must face their doom with open eyes, how then should mortals live? Not in denial of death, but in defiance of its power to diminish life. The Vikings sailed into unknown waters, fought impossible battles, and lived with fierce joy precisely because they understood life's brevity. In accepting the inevitability of their end, they found the freedom to truly live. This is the enduring legacy of Ragnarok, not just a tale of destruction, but a challenge to all who hear it. Face your twilight with courage, for in the acceptance of endings lies the wisdom to fully embrace beginnings. The runes of Ragnarok are carved into the soul of existence. Nothing endures unchanged, yet nothing truly ends. In this paradox lies the deepest mystery of the North, and perhaps the greatest comfort for us all. The tale is told, but many still slumber in the shadows of time. More sagas await, of iron and ice, of myths, legends, and prophecies. Venture forth. Watch the others. Let the fire of the old gods burn in your blood. Like, share, and join the Shield Wall. Subscribe, and never be left behind.